Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. So I found an ornament on Pinterest and here is my inspiration picture, and I just really like this. I think it's a really neat look, but I wanted to make some and give them different looks and make them my own. And this particular one I found on Pinterest, by the way. And the Dollar Tree has some new items this year, and if they've had these before this year, I haven't found them, but they are the little wood shapes, and they come in square, 6 to a pack, or the rectangular ones, 6 to a pack. And I'm going to be using the rectangular ones for today's ornament. So I started out by cutting a roof pitch to the top, and I used a saw, but these are thin enough that you could use a straight edge and cut them with even a utility knife would work, and then you can kind of sand them when you're finished. But working with a chop saw or even a table saw works really well. So I had some molds that I had made up ahead that were made from resin, and this is from the Lock and Key mold from IOD. And if I can find that one, if it's still in, I will attach it in the description. But here, after I've glued this on with the Type Bond Thick and Quick wood glue and just a little bit of hot glue, and now I'm painting over all of it in the color Buttercream. Now these would make good gifts for a housewarming gift because I'm going to be putting the house number on these. And the ones that I sell, I'm going to just leave the area blank where the house number would go, and then I can just kind of stamp that on real quickly for whoever buys it if they want it personalized. And I'm also adding a little key to this, since this is the little keyhole, and I'll hang that from the top. Now I'm using a little short popsicle stick here, and because I'm going to be cutting the edges off, then you can just use a longer one if that's what you have. But I'm just stamping the house number, and I have a friend with the house number that I'm stamping, so that's why I went ahead and did one with the number. So then I just hot glued that little plate on. Actually, I think I might have used some Type Bond and hot glue. So now I have threaded a piece of jute through the top hole that I drilled, and then folded it so that I could tie a loop. But first I added some beads that I also stained with that same Van Dyke brown glaze, and I threaded those on and then tied a knot so that those would stay in place. And then I tied another knot at the top for my loop, and then just kind of snipped off the end to make it even. And then I'm going to add this mold at the top. This one is made from hot glue, and I didn't make this one. This one was one that my friend also made and sent for me. Thank you, Myra. And she does a much better job on the hot glue molds than I do. I tend to get a lot of stringiness on mine. Maybe it's because I use a lower temp glue gun. I think that you probably need a high temp glue gun for these. And since I've already painted my ornament, I'm just painting this one separate in that same Buttercream. And then once that dries, I hot glue it to the top. Now what I like about this particular ornament is you can give it all different kinds of looks. And I didn't do that here, but you could actually make the house to somewhat resemble the house of whoever you're putting the number on. And I actually did another one and didn't include it in this video, but I got it for a friend, or made it for a friend, and she has an old white farmhouse, and the white farmhouse has a red roof. And so I did one white with a red roof, and it turned out really cute because you can add some little touches, but I put her house number on there, and again, it would make a really good housewarming gift. And then I packaged them in these little cellophane bags, and then folded a little piece of cardstock to go over the top and stapled it right over the top. Now, if you're going to add personalization later, then you may want to hold off on this step and just have maybe a few that are packaged. But this one is going to be a gift, so I'm definitely wanting to have this one packaged. And here I've just tied that little resin key to the top, and I painted it in that buttercream. And what I didn't mention is I went ahead and did some distressing over the top of the key and the little piece on the roof. And I just did that by once the buttercream paint dried, then I just took some Stays On ink in the color Timber Brown and just kind of rubbed it over the high spots. And then once this was all finished, I just sprayed this with a clear matte spray. And you could do a brush clear coat if that's what you want. I just felt like that chalk paint needed to be sealed. Even though this is just an ornament, I still felt like it needed to be sealed. Now here I'm taking my distress ink and going around the edges of this cardstock. It's just a small touch, but it makes a very big difference, I think. So if you haven't tried distress ink, I think that you'll be happy with the difference that it makes. So I'm just going to play some music as I finish some of these others. If I feel the need to explain something that I'm doing, then I'll just kind of step in and explain that. But most of these are self-explanatory. I'm just kind of giving you some ideas on different styles that you can do. Now here, because I used a darker base color, I'm using some white wax and putting it on with a small brush to get in all that detail. And then once I get the white wax over everything, then I wipe off all that I can wipe away, and then it leaves all the white in the detail, and it makes that really pop. And it also changes up the color just a little bit. Now I've cut this popsicle stick here. It didn't come this length, but then I just took my little finger sander and rounded the edges. And now I'm antiquing around the edge of this, and I'm going to leave this one blank so that a house number can be added. Now this one I spray painted with just a dark brown paint because I wanted to do a crackle finish on this, and I do that a lot using just regular Elmer school glue, but I'm using just a cheap Dollar Tree glue here, school glue, and so I just kind of rubbed this on and let it dry to the touch, and then went over it with the colored buttercream, and I wanted to get a lot of crackle. But I learned that you can't do that with the cheaper glue. It didn't work. But instead, what it did was when I painted over this with the color buttercream, although it didn't crack, when I went to sand it, I got a really good chippy look. So this wasn't wasted. I did like the old chippy look that I got. So this one I've already sanded. I painted it buttercream, let that dry, and then sanded it. And as you can see, I got that really chippy look. And then all I did on the top of this for the roof was just cut a couple strips of cardstock and folded them in half lengthwise and just used that for my roof. So I just folded them and glued that on. And now I'm painting them with an iron patina paint from Dixie Belle, and then I sprayed it with, or actually I couldn't spray it with the patina spray, but I just kind of took my finger and dabbed it on there, and it made it look a little bit more like metal and a little less like paper. Now on this one, I just tied a regular old key on the top because of the primitive look of this one. I felt like it needed a primitive looking key. And this is another one that I just really roughed up and made it look old, and I'm going to do the same thing and add a regular key to this one. Now I decided to do a different type of ornament here, and I'm using these little boxes from the Dollar Tree, and so I had to cut that one in half. This is a larger lid here, and I cut it in half, and then I decided to cut away that yellow backing also and just use the little strips to make my roof pitch. And I also decided to cut the length of the lid because it just seemed like it was going to be way too tall. So I cut some off the bottom of the lid and just made it shorter. Now here I'm using some wooden coffee stirrers, and I'm able to cut these with scissors or wire cutters. I actually used both, but they cut pretty easily. My sister brought these to me, and I thought it would work really good on this. So I'm using it to fill that whole area there at the top, and then I also use it to trim out the roof and trim out the house. Now I didn't mention that I painted the box this dark brown color, and I just spray painted it. You could brush paint it if you wanted, but I felt like it needed to have a solid color. I'm going to be painting this house white. I think I just used cotton white, but I wanted this to resemble the newer farmhouse styles. But I just think it paints up better if you have a good solid color underneath. And I also took a piece of cardstock and traced the house onto it and then glued that onto the back to finish out my back, because I wanted the back to have a good look also. And now I'm using a large tongue depressor to make the door. And then I'm going to be staining these with just some Van Dyke brown glaze. And that's a Dixie Belle glaze, but you could use any brown glaze. And here I'm folding some cardstock the width that I need it for the roof. And then I'll just hot glue that together. And here's another one that I made the same way, except I stenciled that Home Sweet Home on it. And instead of using the wood on the top, I just used some scrapbook paper that looked like wood. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.